Few things I want to mention. Chemistry. The thing we start with is chemistry. Whenever we are talking about films, whenever we are talking about a scene, whenever we are talking about looking at a movie, making a movie, chemistry is really important between two people, among a set of people, ensemble cast, sometimes new faces interacting with professional cast. And that chemistry is really important. Sometimes after shooting a scene, few takes or many takes, you feel like you have achieved something and people are going to see that. Then in the editing table, you figure out how you are going to show that to the audience. Not the raw material, not the daily, but how you are going to show it with effects or with post production. But chemistry is really important. Now, why do we fall in love with cinema? A question we can ask again and again. Why do we fall in love with cinema? At one time, it was the silent movies. We fell in love because at that time, people were cranking the camera, but they were still innovative. They were looking for the new language of cinema, the cinematic language. They were creating it, inventing, reinventing it. Equipments, constraints, limitations, those things did not bother them, did not stop them, because an urge to tell a story, a passion to tell a story using the cinematic language, that was more. So that made invention of different movie cameras. It got reduced in size, other things, flexibility, resolution, different characters having different features, different cameras having different features. And but ultimately, why do we fall in love with cinema? People who are making the movies, people who are watching the movies, and we are falling in love with cinema. And people who are shooting the movies or making the movies, they have additional responsibility. There can be a lot of materials, overwhelmed by all these materials because of OTT, because of a lot of things people are creating. That's a good thing. People are having more job opportunities, work opportunities. They are creating more movies. New people are getting chances. These are good things. But some people will stand out. You still go to the silent movies, you see that they are telling something that is visually very enriching. They are communicating using the cinematic language. And also, for a lot of years, we have seen the invention in terms of editing, innovation in terms of editing, in terms of telling the story, in terms of linearity or non-linearity, so many things, the way the script is being written or the movie is being made, the cast, and how we are playing with the cast and the crew. All these things we have seen. But why do we fall in love with cinema? Once in a while, we need to ask these questions. And some directors will stand out, some movies will stand out because they have put the effort. They have understood all these things we are talking about. For some people, it can be talks, but for them, it's life, profession, experience, something they really love to do. So they relate to it more. But people who have been very serious about filmmaking, they can relate to it. So all these people can come together and we are having a community here, there, other communities. You discuss, you are already discussing and you keep discussing how we can do these tiny little innovations or, new things, creative things so that we can tell the story in a better way. So why do we fall in love with cinema? Once in a while, we can ask the questions. This question is very important. Now, new talents, existing talents, bringing talents together for the right story and movie. Again, chemistry, and for the right story or this right movie, we are bringing talents, we are finding new talent. That's an art. The art of finding new talents. Existing talents, stars, established professionals, people who have done the work, maybe a long time before they have done the work, we are bringing the person because we know that that person has the potential to play that particular character. So all these things, part of choosing, part of our wisdom, experience, and then we are collaborating with the casting directors, and they are also doing their best. Communication is really important. And who can do the part? Something people will remember. And this is the question sometimes we are not even asking, that people will remember it or not. We are creating the movie we want to create, and we are authentic about making the movie. We are very much passionate about telling the story or making the movie. That is how it should be. And obviously, people will remember it, because if you make the movie like that, if you select the cast like that, if you select the talents like that, and you know how to direct the talents, how to bring them together to make a movie or tell a story from start to finish, and then taking it to the audience, people will remember it, obviously. And so making the movie is really important, and how you are telling the story. You're not making compromises there. Now the compromise can come in different ways nowadays. I have mentioned few things, but you look for all these compromises. Whenever you feel like compromising, whenever you feel like, okay, I could have done it in a better way, do some filtration, use some filters, be really strict about it. And then you will see that in terms of talents, in terms of situations, in terms of scenes, you will come up with better scenes, better takes, better performances, better editing scenario, all these things. So compromise is one term I will use. Now, which one is more important? You are saving face or ego boost, or you are actually making a great movie? So, before making the movie, you are selecting the talents, you are selecting your cast, you are communicating with the casting directors. This is the thing I declare, this is the person I am choosing, man or woman or child. And I know what I am going for, because that is part of that story, inherent in that story. And I know what I want to do with this movie or this character or this person. So that's why things happen in a fluid manner, very naturally. We don't need to think about all these things much. That is something we need to do before making the movie, because if we are taking care of all these movies, all these situations, all these problems, all these hurdles, all these situations, then when the movie starts to happen, the shooting, when we start to shoot the movie, problems will come, but that will be taking you to the creative direction to tell the story in a better way. That will help you to tell the story in a better way. That will help you to have the performances in a better way. Those are not problems that can take you from that storytelling in the first place. So that's why if you do all these things right before making the movie, sometimes people come and go, sometimes you change the cast, you are flexible to do that as well, and you are ready to reshoot if needed. But also these are decisions based on solid foundation, experience, wisdom, and then you are taking all these decisions. So if you do that before, you don't have to save face or do an ego boost, or say things for marketing purposes. You can do that, obviously sometimes you have to do that, but when you are making a good movie, when you have a good talent. Sometimes one talent can have a very small role in a particular movie, and that person can become a great actor or a great star one day. But you are giving that person a chance because you found something in that person. So all these things are great things, part of filmmaking, part of storytelling. Now, find the right people. How do you find the right people? A big question, and we keep asking the question, what is right? How do you find the right people? Who can get the right people? What is the right audition? How we are going to test? In what way we are going to test? Are we strict enough? So all these things, we need to think of. But it's a big question. Find the right people. What is right? Who are the right people? And it's very natural to many of us. We know that. But if that compromise comes, we know how to deal with it. And we can tell the casting directors as well how to deal with it, or the cast and crew. And also you need to understand one thing: there are people who enjoy keeping you with the wrong people. And that has not been a part of filmmaking, because as a profession we have respected it for a long time. As an industry we have respected it, but sometimes new people come, they are not trained in a proper way, but they have achieved fame or maybe success, or maybe they have maintained a name, geographical reasons, marketing reasons. They are communicating with people and things are getting spread. So bad decisions happen, but that should not affect the work environment, professionalism. So sometimes people will be motivated to keep you with the wrong people. But as a director, as a producer, as a casting director, you take a proactive step, sometimes strict steps, so that you have the right cast in place, the right talents in place. Now, takes will work when you have the right people who can. Now, people can have the skill set, they can have the attitude, they can have the potential, and when you guide them through the takes, when you guide them through the direction process, the performances, they will be able to absorb, they will be able to take the direction, they will be able to give the performance that is required from them. Sometimes they are coming up with more, they're bringing more to the table, they're improvising. Sometimes you're telling them, sometimes they are telling you, should we do that, can we try this, because they love to tell the story with you. It's a collaborative medium, it's a collaborative process, right? And respect for the director, tremendously crucial. Director actor relationship, you can learn a lot about life from a director, you know not only regarding acting, about life, about this storytelling, philosophy, so many things you can learn from a good director. So takes will work when you have the right people who can. If they cannot, you're just shooting them. You're just telling them they are coming up with something, but you can go for more in terms of performances, takes, and in the next takes, they will bring something new. They are able to bring something new. They have that within them, and you know how to bring it. So that's great filmmaking, that's great storytelling. Now, referral, how do you define referral? That is also very important, in terms of filmmaking. We should take it really seriously. Now, one frame can destroy an entire movie, one frame or few frames, and you need to really understand that. One frame or few frames can really destroy a movie. Sometimes the audience may not be smart enough, they don't get it, but as a filmmaker, as a storyteller, you should be very aware of all these things, especially if you are making a serious movie. As a producer too, if you are telling a serious story, if you are investing in this movie in a very serious manner, and you know that the brand is there, the storytelling is there, the filmmaking is there, all these things are there, you should be more aware of that as well. A scene requiring intense drama can become a comedy, but sometimes happy accidents can happen. That person can try, that person can improvise, that person can bring something, but that person has to have something, to take the directions, to bring something. So also editing will help. Last day we discussed. Now, cinema, films, the films we are talking about, these are serious films. So when you do that, we have a lot of fun while making it and being a part of it. But inherently, it's a very serious filmmaking, passionate filmmaking. So even a small role used to be very significant. That's how it used to be. And it is for all the timeless movies or great movies. A small, tiny little role can be very significant. It's not just you are showing a face, rather, you are saying or not saying, you are part of that story. You're part of that bigger story. So each and every frame, each and every scene is really important. Even a small role used to be very significant. You cannot take it for granted, you cannot take it lightly. That made a difference in many ways, in cinema. Then the role of photographers and photographs, they can guide you, they can tell you about the essence of an actor. Sometimes you go through the photographs, you can tell the casting directors to do a research, and they are going through the celebrity photographers, fashion photographers, and you never know, you are finding something which you require from the actor for that particular role, and you are going through the pictures, and suddenly you find that that is the essence of the actor, or that person could bring something, in that particular frame. So sometimes, even if you're not sure about what the person can bring or the actor can bring, what you can do is you have the photographs to rely on. They can bring that, their face can bring that, their performance can bring that. So they can help you. Presence of the cast, and uh, it can help the other people, the cast and crew, in different ways, because the presence of the cast sometimes subconsciously can affect a lot of people in the set. You are focusing on direction, but you never know that makeup guy, the hairstyling guy, the cinematographer, the production designer, the art director, they are so fascinated by the talents. They are trying to do some innovation. They are trying to, light the person in a better way. They are going to place the person in a better way. They are discussing with the director, should we do that, should we try that, and then collaboratively you are telling a story. Sometimes you see a tiny little change in the light that is lighting the actor in such a different way, that is bringing drama to the story, intense drama, and that is helping you to tell the story in a better way. Sometimes a tiny little makeup change can help you to tell the story in a better way. And how, when you are doing makeup, hairstyling, how the cameraman, how the cinematographer, all these people are taking the picture. Ultimately you are looking at the frame and you are telling the story, because that is really important, how you are capturing it, how people are looking at the picture and the frame. But behind that, all these people are working, so a cast can have a significant impact, in others. Now, audition. What is a good audition? Again, a big question. What is a good audition? What are the things you should do to try and test, to look at the forte, to look at the metal of an actor, to look at the performances, to look at the skill set, to look at the behaviors, mannerisms. Uh, it can help in tremendous ways, to select a person, to select the cast. Because when you do all these things, when you observe people in like that, they fit in that story, they fit in that character. So you have to give them less direction. Sometimes they're just standing in front of the camera and you are telling them to do something, or maybe you are telling them to say something, and the film is happening automatically sometimes, and then you have to do the rest of the things. So audition. What is a good audition? How do you test? Can be a big things. Nowadays we need to look at it even more, and for the sake of the story, for the sake of the movie, we should be proud to reject some faces and auditions. Sometimes we don't do that. These people are telling, they are telling, he is telling, she is telling, they are all saying all these things about these people. But if you go to the earlier movies, sometimes two stars gave auditions and one got selected, one got rejected. And the rejection is not something as an insult. The story required it. Maybe later that person got another role. But when you go through the auditions, sometimes these things are available in the net. When you go through these auditions, you feel like, okay, that person was not quite required for that role. That person did a better job. So all these things. But before that, the story or that movie is going to the people, and then other things regarding the movie, how the audition happened, the backstory, the stories regarding the movie, the making of the movie, all these things. But when you have a great story, it is having a significant impact on the audience. Many people will try to go for more study, research in the discipline in universities. And also, as a film fan, many people will take up the camera to make a movie. They will become part of the cast and crew. They will also support the movie in different ways. So you never know. But we need to be very strict about rejecting some faces and auditions. And they must earn it. They must earn it. And if they are really professional people, they will know, they must earn it. So crazy ideas, sometimes crazy ideas, it's not just the idea, but how you are making the movie. And people, ultimately you are shooting people, right? There are sets, but there are people as well, and you're shooting people, faces, gestures, movements. So when you do that, staging and blocking and all these things, how they are fitting into the environment of the set, and then you are capturing them. Sometimes people are going near the characters to direct, sometimes they are going near the screen, but ultimately sometimes you are enjoying the performance, being with the characters, being with the cast and crew. Sometimes you're looking at the screen because ultimately people will look at the screen. So you know that performance is right, and that is also being communicated in that particular frame, in that screen. So you know your directing style. Sometimes you are flexible enough to change it, sometimes you're going back and forth, but ultimately we are not focusing too much on all these things. Whatever the scene is requiring, how I am comfortable about directing my movie, how I am comfortable about directing my cast and crew and the talent. Sometimes some people are very conscious about your presence. A director can be there, and that can be very fearful for many people. They are not able to give the performance. So sometimes you need to know that when you need to step away from that particular position, so that the actor can become very comfortable to give that performance we are expecting them to give. All these things, common sense, and how you take all these decisions during the making of the movie. So crazy ideas, and people will make it happen, the cast and crew, and how you are selecting the cast and crew before making the movie. Then you are on a good road, you are in a safer place, and then problems will happen, things will happen, situations will happen, and you will figure out a way. And the storytelling can go through a lot of innovations, you can go through a lot of creative experiments, but when the people are in place, the cast and crew, you have taken care of a lot of things. And also, in terms of cast and crew, actors, verbal and also non-verbal. Sometimes they are not saying anything, they are not verbose, they are not saying a lot of dialogue or lines, but non-verbally they can communicate a lot through eyes, through gestures. So you need to look for all these things as well. And not just talks, even silence is so important. Just you are having a close up, or maybe shooting a person, the way the person is standing, the way the person is interacting with the camera, all these things can have significant importance in telling a story. So responsibility of the makers, especially serious filmmakers, because it sets the standards for many people, for new people, aspiring filmmakers, for the society, and for many people it is setting a lot of standards. So responsibility of the makers, especially serious filmmakers. Also respect for the study, research and discipline. Sometimes people from sociology, anthropology, they are researching your movie, but when you are making the movie, you don't know about all these things, you don't need to know, but you have read the books, you have done your research in terms of making the movie. But when people are looking at the movie, they are figuring out new things, and they are doing their own research in a much more scientific manner, and sometimes they are discussing with you as well, and they can have your advice and guidance. So all these things came very naturally to the filmmaking process, and we need to trust those a lot more. Now, performance and editing, not too much dependent on editing only. The actors have to perform, the talents have to perform. So when they are performing, when we are getting the performances required from them, sometimes people are coming from theaters, they have a solid theatrical background, sometimes they know how to say their lines, they are very well acquainted with the characters, novels, they have read, they have studied a lot. Sometimes people are street smart people, they know how to absorb, look at people and mannerisms, gestures and movements. So we need all of them to bring in a movie, and whatever is required for that particular scene. And performances, when you have the good performances, a lot of takes, then you can play with the editing a lot. But if you don't have the performances you are requiring from the actor, then what is editing? Editing is coming later, the takes are coming later, right? So performance and editing, not too much dependent on editing only. What is required for that particular scene or that particular story? Now, when you are saying no, they should understand it. As I said, part of professionalism, obviously. And it is also not based on whims, that you are saying no just based on whims. It is not like that. It is coming with a lot of wisdom and experience. So when you are saying no, you also know that you are saying no from a significant position, and the person who is receiving that no, that person should understand that is a very significant decision from the director or from anyone in the cast and crew required for that particular scene. So all these things, collaboration, again, collaboration, communication, really important. Now, it's easy to talk, but the actual things are really tough and difficult. We cannot ignore that. We cannot, we have to mention that. We can we can talk about a lot of talks, we can talk about a lot of things, and the actual things are really tough, really difficult. But if you have given your passion, importance, enthusiasm, your effort, your grit, then you can relate to it. Then you can do your own stuff in that manner. Otherwise, goody goody talks only. But talks are needed too. That doesn't mean you have to stop the talking. That doesn't mean you have to stop talking about films in a critical manner altogether. So we need those talks, but the talks are not enough. We need to make the movies as well. We need to create scenes that will evoke more discussions. We will have performances that will evoke more discussions, more criticism. So that's why we need talks, we need movies, we need all of them. Sometimes the characters, the plot will shout for particular people. Sometimes we believe in the potential, the people, well chosen people, and they will fit into the character. So sometimes the characters or the plot will shout for particular people. They are the people needed for that particular story. They are the people needed for that particular character. And the script is shouting for them. The casting directors know, the directors know, the people who are in charge of that, they know that they are shouting. And eventually we will find the right people who will do the right things in the movie. Sometimes we believe in the potential, newcomers, inexperienced people, but we know we can do our job. We know how to direct them. We know how to keep them with experienced people. And during the making of the movie, they can learn a lot. How to deliver a dialogue, how to do improvisation, how to understand and interpret the script. You can do all these things, on the job as well. But you need to have something, to start with. So sometimes we believe in the potential and people, well chosen people, and they will fit into the characters. So directing, a big responsibility, a big thing, directing. Now, artist is one word we take it very lightly nowadays, and people have done a lot of negative connotations with the word artist. But artist, this term you need to respect. Art you need to respect. Artist you need to respect. Then you will have better performances. Then you have better storytelling. Then you have better movies, better working environment as well. That artistic development is also very important. Before coming to the set, how you are doing your research. Before even being part of that particular movie, how you have read these books, you have listened to the music, you have prepared yourself in whichever way you can, as an actor, as a performer. Then when you are called for that particular role, you know what additional things you have to do, what are the things you need to do for the specific movie. But you know that you have developed yourself as an artist, as an actor, as a talent. So you can bring a lot, to the movie. And faces, eyes, movements, gestures, physicality, not just dialogues. All these things are important. Sometimes one person or few people are in the frame, they are not speaking a single dialogue, but that particular frame can have a significant emotional impact. And sometimes when you say even one word or one syllable, that can ruin that significant importance of that particular scene or that particular frame. Now you need to know that when you require that. It's not that it is written in the script, that's why you have to say that. That's why good direction is called for. Sometimes it's written in the script. Maybe you are shooting one for the script, one with the dialogue. Maybe sometimes you are shooting one with the dialogue, one without it. Because you know that impact it can have, that particular frame. So all these decisions you need to take care of as a filmmaker, as an actor, as a good cast and crew, member of the cast and crew, producer as well. Because if you have a good creative eye as a producer, you will come up with great movies. It's not just money invested, but also creativity, your effort, your wisdom invested. Sometimes people will come from theater, Broadway plays. Sometimes, as I mentioned, there will be people who love acting. Cinema has been the school. Directors have been the school, and they have learned from that. You know, We need to bring all these people together to tell a great story. Who is the right person? You need to figure out all these things. Now, good casting and performances help or inspire others to write good movies as well. When you have a good movie, maybe for 5 years people are not talking about the movie. Sometimes maybe within few weeks people are talking about the movie, whatever be the scenario. When you have a good movie, a good product, when you have a good performance, good casting and performances will help people, inspire people to write good movies as well. Because as a film fan, when they will know the movie, they will watch the movie, they will not think about casting and all these things, directing and all this stuff. Sometimes people are not that serious or critical about filmmaking. They're just watching a movie and they want to have that emotional impact. They want to get motivated by the movie. They want to have that you know uh, fun and entertainment that film can bring. Then maybe later they are pursuing a profession. Maybe they are more serious about filmmaking in terms of discussion, in terms of passion. They are figuring out all these things. But the movie, when you are making this movie, you are selecting the cast and crew, the characterization, characters, performances, and that will help people in different ways, numerous ways. So you cast right, you are in a good place. But what is the good thing? You cast right and you are in a good place, but what is right? So as I mentioned that. Now ideas to film and the cast and crew will make it happen. And how do you know, which one is the best thing, which one is the thing? But again, I will end with one thing. What is chemistry? Why do we fall in love with cinema? We need to ask these questions. And only looking good, it is doing justice to the character I am portraying, it is doing justice to the story. We need to ask these questions. And when we do that, and also when it is part of that artistic development, even as a director, because a director is a great artist as well. Sometimes people don't know, sometimes people know, and sometimes people have deliberately invested in the artistic development. So when they have done the artistic development, um, they will come up with great storytelling. They will come up with great characters, great characterization, great acting performances. And it is so natural with the filmmaking process. You won't think about these things as a separate thing. Why I am saying this? Because this philosophy, this passion, um, this inspiration, all these things you develop, if you are genuine about filmmaking, if you are genuine about this passion for filmmaking, all these things happen together in a very natural manner. When you make a film, when you look at a film, when you go for the performances, so you just work, you just do the scenes, you just tell the stories, you just bring people, cast and crew together, and you tell a story. All these things happen very naturally in a fluid manner. You don't have to think about all these things much. Rather, you are thinking about the decisions, how you're going to tell the story in a better way. You're selecting this, you're not selecting this, all these things. So the crappy part you don't need to think about. You can think about the better things so that you can tell the story in a better way. That's why we need to invest more in the artistic development as well. Sometimes directors are very well read people. They are knowing a lot about life, knowing a lot about characters, knowing a lot about the particular film they are making, the situation, the environment. That's why they are chosen. Sometimes they are really good telling that particular story. That's why they are chosen. And sometimes people love to make these stories and these movies. That's why they are the directors in the first place. Sometimes the talents will love to be a part of that movie. Sometimes the talents of the cast and crew will love to tell the story with the particular director or that particular story they are having a fascination with. And then cinema, cinema itself is a big thing. The moment we mention cinema, the big screen, the cinema, and we are being part of that storytelling process, we are telling the story together, new talents are coming. You never know what can happen. Cinema, immense possibilities, anything can happen, and you should look for those things to happen. Sometimes you are so ready to make the movie, these things will happen and you will have a little smile in your face, and people will know that we are doing the good things. We are being part of that filmmaking. But not just goody goody talks, not just goody goody talks, but actually we have done all these things. That's part of our wisdom and experience. We don't need to talk about all these things. We are just making the movie, all these things. So that's what. And later we will do other discussions, but this is for the casting directors. Communicate, collaborate, have a strict eye for the talent, do filtration, find what is the good audition, and be proud to reject some faces and auditions, and be ready to go one step more, go the extra mile, or go one step more in terms of tasting, in terms of auditioning, in terms of finding the people. So when you do that, you never know who you will find, and then the movie making process will be much better, and people will remember the movie for a long time. So all these things we need to keep in mind.